Chapter 6. Madi. Anger boils inside me at my husband's asinine and insensitive question. How could he even ask me that? I shove a rolled t-shirt into my bag and then lift my eyes to meet his, sending daggers with my stare. She was my sister. How can you even ask me why I have to go? His eyes drop to his lap, shame etched on his features. That was an insensitive question, and he knows it, but at least he has the decency to look chagrined. I love my husband. I do. But sometimes he drives me crazy. Like when dumb statements like this fall out of his mouth. He has a habit of speaking before he thinks, something that has gotten him in trouble more than once. In fact, he's rather impulsive all around, except when it comes to having kids, it seems. We've been married for over 2 years, but he still won't even discuss the subject. He claims his work schedule is still too hectic, that it will calm down soon, but I don't really believe him. He's a workaholic, and that will never change. In fact, I've even considered going off birth control and just not telling him. But a small piece of me worries that he won't be happy about the accident, and I'd end up raising the baby alone. Not something I can do with my current unemployed status, and completely out of the question now until I figure out what happened to my sister. I just meant that she's already gone, so why do you have to go out there? Why not just hold the funeral here? Jared asks, trying to defend himself. Are you kidding me right now? I snap, unable to grasp his selfishness. I have to go to her apartment and collect her things. I have to put her apartment up for sale. That is, unless you want me to keep it for you to use when you're in the city for days at a time. Jared works as a sales representative for a pharmaceutical company. While most of his job can be done from home, there are occasions where he has to travel into the city for meetings and clients. His expression pales with my question and he shakes his head. I don't think I could stay there knowing what happened. And that's another reason I have to go, to find out what really happened. The police may believe Claire overdosed on sleeping pills, but I know she couldn't have. From the time she was little, Claire had an aversion to pills. She couldn't even swallow baby aspirin without choking, so there is no way she could have swallowed enough sleeping pills to kill herself. You could come with me then, I say. Though still angry, I'm also desperate for some comfort and support, because going through my sister's life on my own will be hard. He grimaces and shakes his head. I wish I could, but I can't. Sorry, babe, but I've got to work close to home this week. You know how it is when I get back from the city. I do know. It's something I deal with several times a month. But I can't believe his company wouldn't let him go back for a few days. Is his company really such a stickler that they wouldn't give him a few days to help his grieving wife? Yeah, I know. I was just hoping. He crosses to me and pulls me into his arms, but it is not the loving embrace I'd been hoping for. Instead, he pats the back of my head in an awkward gesture of apology. I know, babe. I wish I could be there. I really do. But I'll only be a phone call away. You know that, right? Yeah, I know. I give him a quick squeeze, wishing things could be different, and then I step out of his arms to finish packing my bag. Don't forget your insulin, he says before he steps out of the room. I glare at his back as he leaves. As if I could forget that. It's been a part of my life since I was 10 years old and not something I could forget. Half an hour later, I'm on the road. It's not a long trip into the city, only a few hours, But that is long enough for me to get consumed in my thoughts. What really happened to Claire, and who would want to kill her? My first stop when I reach the city is the police station, and a feeling of despair cloaks me as I pull into the parking lot. Not only would I rather be anywhere else, but the building is sad and brown. I can't imagine coming to work here every day, and it doesn't give me warm fuzzies about the quality of the cops who do. When I step inside, there's a smell that I can't quite place, like a cleaner trying to mask the smell of urine but not quite succeeding. And the woman working the counter looks like she hasn't smiled in half a century. "Can I help you?" she asks when I step up to the counter. Her voice is low and raspy like the throaty voice of a chain smoker, and the tips of her fingers have the same yellow color that my grandfather's did before he passed. "I'm here to see Officer Ramirez about Claire Cooper." She taps away on her ancient keyboard. Is there no money to update their technology? And then nods at me. "He's expecting you. Just have a seat and he'll be right out." She points to a row of chairs that probably used to be a bright red color, but are now a faded hue of rust, and I head that direction. I have no intention of sitting down, however. Not only am I too nervous to sit, but I have no idea what's been on those chairs, and I can't imagine touching them. Thankfully, I don't have to wait long. "Mrs. Williams, thank you for coming." The officer is younger than I expected, tall and fit with olive skin. The smile he offers is sad, but it doesn't change how handsome his features are. But I'm not here to ogle the man. I'm here to find out what happened to Claire. "I said I would come, so what do I need to do?" My tone is sharper than I mean it to be, but I feel like a piece of broken glass, all raw edges and broken pieces. "If you'll follow me, we'll go over everything in detail." I don't need detail from him, especially since he still thinks Claire killed herself. But I follow him anyway, as he leads the way down a dimly lit hallway. He opens the door to a small, bleak room with a round table, 4 chairs, and a woman whose lifeless brown clothes blend in with the dull surroundings around her, and somehow make her look even more depressed than the building. Brown jacket, brown pants, ugly brown shoes that were obviously made for comfort over style. There's a hint of cream near her neck, but that is it. Even her hair, though it is pulled tightly back in a bun, is brown. She wears no jewelry that I can see, except for a nondescript watch on her wrist. And I don't mean an Apple Watch or a Garmin or anything like that. No, this is an old watch, the kind that doesn't need to be charged every few days. "Hello, Mrs. Williams. I'm Ethel Johnson." Even her name is bland and unremarkable, and I wonder if this woman has a personality at all. "I'm a victim advocate, and I just want to echo that I'm very sorry for your loss, and that I'll do everything I can to help you," she says in a monotone voice. "Thank you," I say, though I don't mean it. I'm trying to hold back my tears and my anger, but I hate the offering of pity when they haven't even investigated my sister's death correctly. I considered just asking for Claire's keys and getting out of there, but I have a feeling that would come across as callous. We take our seat around the table, and Officer Ramirez folds his hands together. "As I mentioned on the phone, our investigation leads us to believe this was a suicide, even though your sister didn't leave a note." "Yes, you mentioned sleeping pills," I scoff, unable to keep my words in check any longer. "But I don't suppose you dusted the bottle for fingerprints, did you?" I lean back in the stiff chair and fold my arms across my chest. Ramirez shifts in his seat. No, we didn't. There was no reason to. A look of sympathy flashes across his face. No doubt he hears things like this all the time. Denial is the first stage, after all. But I'm not in denial. I know that something happened to Claire. Leaning forward, I splay my hands on the table and fix him with a pointed stare. Except that, as I told you on the phone, Claire couldn't swallow pills. She's never been able to. He nods, but glances at Ethel as if to say, "See, I told you." I did send the bottle to the lab after we spoke. If there are other fingerprints on the bottle, we'll find them. In the meantime, your sister's apartment is not considered a crime scene, so we are releasing the keys to you. If, however, you find anything out of the ordinary, please let us know. I'm tired of telling him this whole thing is out of the ordinary, so I simply nod, and Ethel takes the silence as her cue to speak. We know this is very hard for you, Mrs. Williams, but I'd like to help in any way I can. Will you be planning a funeral? I don't actually know who I'd invite, I say, trying to ignore the pity in her voice. Claire and I had no other family, and I'm not sure who she was friends with here. Ethel flashes a sympathetic look, and I have the feeling that if we were seated any closer, thank goodness we're not, she would pat my arm like a child. Well, perhaps we can contact her job and find out some of that. Regardless, I'm here to help you plan one if you'd like. She pulls a business card from her pocket and slides it across the table to me. I can connect you with grief counselors, funeral arrangements, whatever you need. Thank you. I pick up the card, though I have no intention of using it. My mind is already racing with thoughts of how to prove that Claire did not take her own life. And I'm not going to let Ethel Johnson, Officer Ramirez, or their empty promises and platitudes stand in my way of doing that. Officer Ramirez walks me back to the front and has the lady at the front desk give me Claire's key. I reluctantly thank him and then head over to the apartment that I only visited once before, when Claire first moved in. As I stand in front of Claire's door, a cloud of sadness drapes across my shoulders, heavy and unrelenting. I can't believe she's gone. Actually gone. And it hits me more acutely as I stare at her door. We hadn't been as close since she moved to the city a year ago, but she was my sister, my blood, the only family I had left. It hits me as I put the key in the lock that I am alone now. I still have Jared, of course, but he's not blood. I push the depressing thought from my mind and open Claire's door. Immediately, I'm greeted with the cruel joke of a soft vanilla scent, her favorite, and I have to swallow the lump in my throat. The scent lingers like a whisper in the room, a tangible echo of her presence, and it claws at my heart with icy fingers and freezes my feet for a moment. Though the apartment is small, it's an open plan with a tiled entry that leads to a kitchen that Claire clearly decorated herself. The walls have a simple black and white backsplash, but there's a painted mural across the top that swirls with color. Tears fill my eyes once again as my fingers trace the brushstrokes. I set my stuff down on her table and begin opening the drawers and cabinets. I'm unsure of what I'm looking for exactly, but hoping I'll know it when I see it. Her cabinets are mostly bare, a set of 4 plates, bowls, and cups that she likely bought at a discount store. Claire didn't believe in paying full price for anything. There are a few pots and pans that I know used to belong to our mother, a toaster, and a microwave. She doesn't even have a coffee pot, but she rarely drank coffee. That was much more my vibe while she sipped on different flavors of tea. One drawer contains a collection of utensils. Another holds nothing but takeout menus from the area. And the third is the requisite junk drawer that all kitchens seem to have, filled with tape, batteries, pencils, and the like. Though I can't imagine anything helpful will be in the refrigerator, I open it and look inside. But it, too, is empty. A solitary bottle of ketchup and mustard stand guard on either side of a half-empty pickle jar, and the rest is bare. Did she ever cook here, or did she just eat out for every meal? I move from the kitchen to the small living room. Not shy to colors, Claire has blended blues, reds, and purples with the pillows and art hung on the walls. They seem to mock me as they pulse with a life of their own. The bold colors and vibrant shapes a stark contrast to the stillness that permeates the room now. There's a faded couch with a tear in the corner that has seen better days, a chair, and a small table. A half-finished jigsaw puzzle is open on the table, and the sight of it constricts my heart. When she wasn't painting, Claire loved working jigsaw puzzles and crossword puzzles. I can still remember mornings when she would rattle off some nonsense words in hopes that we would be able to help her complete the puzzle. I don't know why she ever asked. She was better at those things than any of us. My eyes tear up at the thought that this puzzle will go back in the box unsolved. There is little to be packed up in the living room besides her art supplies that sit neatly stacked in the far corner. Though I imagined her easel would normally reside in the tiled entryway for easier cleaning, it sits in the corner of the living room. I stare at it for a moment, and then back to the entryway. Did she really paint in the living room, which is carpeted, or has the easel been moved? And if so, why? I wander closer to the easel to look at the paintings in front of it. The purpose of her art isn't always clear to me, but I feel the need to look at these, to see if one of them holds some clue as to what happened to her. I pick the painting up and blink at the images. It's abstract art, so there's nothing clearly painted, but it has a terrifying feel. The vivid reds around the canvas remind me of blood, and a knot forms in my stomach. What happened to Claire? What was she trying to convey with this? Unsettled, I return the painting to the floor and look through her other recent ones. They are all more peaceful, soft blues and pinks, rather than jarring reds and blacks. So something must have happened recently. But what? And does it have anything to do with her death? Is it possible that she got depressed enough to kill herself? It still doesn't feel right to me. There must be something more. The pills. It suddenly hits me that if Claire had started taking pills, there ought to be some about the house. A myriad of pills fill one of my cabinets at home. Pain medication, cold medication, even icy hot patches and cream for sore and aching muscles. But Claire's cabinets were devoid of any of those. Perhaps a medicine cabinet, then? We'd had one in our bathroom growing up, though I didn't think anyone used them now. I head to Claire's bathroom, sighing as I flick on the light and take in the sight. She was never great with cleaning bathrooms, but this room looks like she hasn't touched it in ages. Her towel is miraculously hung on the rack, but brushes and powders clutter the counter, and there are globs of toothpaste in the sink. I scan the contents looking for pills, but there are none. The mirror has no medicine cabinet, and the cabinet below holds only spare bottles of shampoo, body wash, razors, and toilet paper. Okay, the bedroom then. This will be the hardest room, I know, but it has to be done. I push open the door and take in the sight. Like the living room, it is simple. A bed, a nightstand, a dresser, and a small bookshelf. But unlike the living room, it is a disorganized mess. A chaos that mirrors the turmoil in my chest. Clothes are strewn across the floor in piles, and random junk clutters her dresser. Claire's room has always been messy. She claimed it was due to her creative genius, that sometimes she couldn't work or think when things were too organized. But it always drove me crazy. I clean up every day and always put things back in their places. Even 2 dishes in the sink bother me. I guess I don't have creative genius. With a sigh, I begin the daunting process of cleaning up her room. I fold the clothes and place them on the bed, memories hitting me with each piece I remember. We don't have the same style, nor were we the same size, so the clothing will be going directly to charity. The papers I glance at before tossing in the trash. Most are sketches or campaign ideas for the company she worked for. I wonder vaguely if they hired someone else to fill her job yet. Probably. From the few times we talked, it sounded like she did a lot, and they would need someone to take that over. When the floor is tidy, I move to the dresser. We purchased it together at a flea market shortly before she moved here, and I let my fingers trail over the grainy wood. My hand shakes slightly like a leaf at the tail end of autumn, desperate to remain on the tree. The day is still visible in my mind if I close my eyes, but I don't let myself wander down that path. Instead, I open the drawers and empty them one by one. In the last drawer, though, I find something that isn't clothes. It's a small brown box. On the outside, it appears ordinary, but Claire would never hide a box in the drawers unless it was keeping a secret. Is this where she stowed the pills? And if so, why? Was she hiding an addiction from someone? The lid creaks open, the sound echoing through the room like an eerie chorus. But the inside is empty. A soft velvet lining cradling nothing but shadows stares up at me. Why would she hide an empty box in her drawer? There must be more to it. And that's when I remember the puzzle box Claire had as a child. She'd gotten it for Christmas one year and hidden all sorts of treasures in the compartments, including the key to my diary once. I turn the box over and over in my hands, pressing every inch in case something isn't as it seems. Just as I'm about to give up, I touch something that feels like a little lever. A soft click sounds and the bottom of the box opens. My breath hitches in anticipation, but there are no pills inside. Nestled in the shadowy compartment is a leather book. It calls to me like a siren song, and my fingers lift it from the space before I even realize what I'm doing. The cover is brown and faded, either from excessive use or time in the sun. With Claire, it could be either. It looks a lot like the sketch journals she used to keep when we were young, but when I flip it open, I realize it isn't full of sketches, but full of words. Claire's cursive flows across the page in delicate swoops and swirls that I know like the back of my hand. I had no idea she kept an actual journal, but I can't read it. Can I? Even with her gone, it feels like a violation of privacy. But if anything is going to help me figure out what really happened to her, then this might hold the key. "Forgive me, Claire," I whisper, as I take the journal to the bed and lean against her headboard as I begin to read. "My new job is amazing. I never thought I'd get to use my art skills for anything other than painting, but I'll be using them daily at Palmer Incorporated. The building is beautiful, and everyone seems nice, especially Janice, my immediate boss. Miss Palmer is a little intimidating, but that's probably just because it was my first day. I'm looking forward to tomorrow." The next few entries are similar. Claire mentions a few other people, Carrie, Mark, Erica, and discusses some of the projects they were working on. Though some days were better than others, most of the entries hint at how much she likes her job. Until I get closer to the end. Then they suddenly shift. I don't know if I should keep this job or find a new one. Though I love it, I stumbled across something the other day that looks like someone is stealing from the company. I don't know if I should ignore it or report it, nor do I know who to take this issue to. I pause, wondering why she never reached out to talk to me about this. Did she have a confidant there? Was Janice still her friend? Or this Carrie girl she talked about once or twice? I haven't seen either of them mentioned in the last several pages. Pressing my lips together, I keep reading, devouring the words as if they are both a poison and an antidote. I have to know if there is a clue to her death here, as I am more and more convinced that she did not kill herself. But nothing gives a clue. Nothing until the very last entry. It's dated the day before her death, and it contains only 10 words. It's worse than I thought. I have to tell someone, but who can I trust? What does that mean? What did she find out? Though it deepens my conviction that she did not kill herself, it's not enough to take to the cops, because they already think she killed herself. They'll dismiss it as some secret gossip or the like. But I know it's more than that. I have to find out what Claire knew, and that means I need to get in that business and find out what she did.